This Spider-Man Brand New Day scene leads directly into Avengers Doomsday. Hey everybody, Colton here, and the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer was awesome, right?
Right.
I loved it. It looks amazing, like just visually stunning. I did a video on that. I'm super excited about John Bernthal's Punisher being back. I did a video on that. But now I want to talk about MJ and how we can see her in the reflection of Peter's blacked out eyes in this shot from the trailer. And yes, that is 100% MJ in the reflection. I know some people online are saying they can't see it, but trust me, it's her. Here's the nose, the cheek, the eyes, it's MJ. Now, from the moment I saw the trailer, I got the impression that we were seeing some trickery happening in the editing room. We did a whole video over on Screen Crush about how this scene from the trailer is definitely hiding something. Maybe a Daredevil, maybe a Hulk, but this scene in the trailer where Spider-Man is in the cell block fighting the Hand, and they do this quick cut to a close-up of his blacked out eyes, that shot is 100% from another scene. And it wasn't the MJ reflection that gave it away for me, because I didn't notice that until someone pointed it out online. I think it's just my own personal years of editing video and trailers of my own stuff and analyzing movie trailers for years now, especially Marvel movie trailers. I just immediately recognized that that's not the same scene. I can spot these little trailer cuts. You're not sneaky. But like I said, when I was scrolling online, there was a lot of discussion happening about the trailer, and a few people pointed out that if you look closely in the reflection of Peter's eyes, we can see MJ. And I think this scene is from this scene that we also saw in the trailer, and I think that this scene is the final scene of the film that sets up Avengers Doomsday. Let me explain. And the Ask Colton question that inspired today's video came to us from Alex. Alex writes, "Hey Colton, did you see the rumor that Sony has shot 2 endings for Brand New Day and that they're still trying to pick which one to go with? I'd love to hear which one you think they'll choose." All right. Great question. Thank you so much. And yes, I did see that report, and we're going to dive into it now. Potential ending number 1. Peter and MJ reunite, and whether or not she remembers him or figures it out on her own again is still unclear, but they are together. They're back in a relationship. Then an incursion hits, and reality begins breaking apart, and their moment gets interrupted because Peter has to jump into action. Now, potential ending number 2 is that Peter finally works up the courage to tell MJ the truth about who he is and what they meant to each other. He is about to confess everything, and then the incursion happens before he can finish telling her who he is, and before I guess they can officially get back together. So with the first potential ending, I love the idea that MJ figures it out herself, just like she did in Far From Home.
I figured it out.
In Far From Home, Peter was actually about to tell MJ that he has feelings for her, but she thought that he was about to tell her that he's Spider-Man.
MJ,
I'm Spider-Man.
What?
That's what you were gonna say, that you're Spider-Man.
But this time around, Peter actually could be telling her that he's Spider-Man, only this time around, it's Spider-Man telling MJ that he's Peter Parker. And we could get another flipperoo. I just said flipperoo. Okay, we could get another flipperoo where instead of MJ interrupting to say that she knows he's Spider-Man, this time around she interrupts because she thinks that he is about to tell her how he has feelings for her, and she blurts out something like, "Yeah, Spider-Man, I like you too." Now, we know that Peter and MJ meet again in Brand New Day, and she probably starts to crush on him because, she's inclined to like him because they already fell in love. So those feelings are still there deep down in her subconscious. I also think that we're going to learn that MJ is obsessed with Spider-Man because despite her forgetting who Peter Parker is, she still knows Spider-Man. She still remembers her encounters with Spider-Man, and she probably is really confused by the fact that she finds herself in love with Spider-Man. So this idea of the incursion happening the second Peter tells MJ about how they used to know each other, and if Peter is able to do something that breaks through Strange's spell and MJ starts to remember everything, and then the sky begins to crack open from an incursion, Peter might think, oh shit, I messed up. I shouldn't have said anything, because remember, the whole reason that no one remembers who he is because the sky was cracking open and essentially an incursion was about to happen in Spider-Man No Way Home. And then in Doomsday, which I'm not sure that he has a big role in Doomsday, if a role at all, or maybe in Secret Wars, we could see Peter in some kind of scene saying, it's because I told MJ who I was, I broke the spell, now the multiverse is cracking. And then we could get a line from another character that essentially says,
"We're aware of your abuse of your timeline.
You were so abusive of it. No, it has nothing to do with that.
So anyway, these two ending options sound feasible. I like the idea of her cracking it herself, the fact that Peter Parker and Spider-Man are the same person, but I also like the idea of her just falling for Peter Parker again. I like the idea of her having this massive crush or even this feeling of being in love with Spider-Man, but not knowing why, and that's because she doesn't know who he is. Kind of like with MJ in the Raimi films. She had this love for Spider-Man that likely stemmed from the fact that deep down she knew that was Peter Parker.
I think I always knew. All this time. Who you really were.
But she wasn't sure. There was even one point where she thinks her fiancé, astronaut Jameson, might be Spider-Man. And I think that tells us that in the Raimi films, MJ was wondering why she has this feeling of being in love with Spider-Man, despite them only having met a handful of times. Granted, he's saving her life every time, but they don't know each other. I think in Brand New Day, we could see something similar with the MCU MJ. Maybe she's thinking her new boyfriend in Brand New Day might be Spider-Man, and we could even see her ask him if he is. And he could be like, what? Now, as for the idea that one ending has MJ learn the truth and the other has them get interrupted before he can finish, I think if they go with option 2 where they get interrupted, it would at least need to have MJ learn that her new friend, Peter Parker, is Spider-Man, and that alone could perhaps serve as the straw that breaks the spell's back, so to speak, because if MJ knows Peter Parker and MJ knows Spider-Man, her then learning that they are the same person, that might be able to break through the spell. And it could connect the dots for why she wears that Black Dahlia necklace. Remember, MJ likely thinks that Spider-Man, who saved her abroad, is the one that gave her that necklace. She doesn't remember the Peter part, but she does remember the Spider-Man part. And as Peter stands there, mask off, in the spider suit, just like in Far From Home's ending, she may actually be able to break through that spell. Yes, that's it. That's what I want to happen. I like that. That's the ending. I've spoken. Now, I've read reports stating that Sony is trying to decide which one to go with, which ending to go with. But don't be confused. Marvel will decide which ending to go with. Yes, Sony has a say, but I think Marvel probably has a bigger say. They're the ones doing Doomsday and Secret Wars. So I think Sony would be smart to defer to what works for the overall narrative. At least I hope that's what they would do.
Has to do with Spider-Man, I think.
Now, as for the black eyes in this moment, this is theorized to be Peter morphing into the Man-Spider, where he has blacked out eyes. But I think this may actually be part of Peter's new mutation, such as with his organic webs, and now a new addition to his powers could be that when he has his spider sense, his eyes go black. And I think that's what's happening in this moment. Peter is standing on the rooftop with MJ, mask off, they're having their moment, and then he senses the incursion about to happen. His eyes go black, we see MJ in the reflection of his eyes asking what's wrong, and then boom, the incursion begins to happen. The sky begins to crack, and we could learn that Brand New Day takes place alongside the events of Doomsday, kind of like with Ant-Man and the Wasp and Infinity War. So in Doomsday, if the multiverse collapses, if Universe 616 falls victim to an incursion and dies at the end of Doomsday, and we're seeing that same incursion start to happen at the end of Spider-Man Brand New Day, that could be kind of like how the snap at the end of Avengers Infinity War, we see that happen there, but we also see it happen at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp because those movies were taking place at the same time. So that could be what we're seeing happen here, setting up not only Doomsday in Spider-Man Brand New Day, but as well as Secret Wars, and that could explain why Tom's Spider-Man isn't in Doomsday, because Doomsday will probably take place mostly outside of Universe 616 anyway, and when they are in Universe 616, it won't all be in New York. But hey, those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear yours down in the comments below. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And thank you so much to Alex for sending in that question to askcoltonnow@gmail.com. I've been your host, Colton Ogburn, and I will see you next time. Bye!